All right, welcome everybody to the February Master Gardener Workshop. Um, it's the introduction is excuse me. I want to just welcome everybody to the Water Efficient Landscaping Workshop. We're presented by Master Gardener and we're brought to you by Western Water. I'm Jeffrey Diaz. I'm the Water Efficiency Coordinator at Western Water, and it's my pleasure to help our customers become more water conscious, conserve water, and save a little bit of money in the process. Before we dive in, I'd just like to take a moment to share a few things, a couple upcoming events, and some resources for our Western Water customers that help support sustainable water use. One of the big things that we have coming up is the Waterworks Wonders, April 26th this year, 2025. And I'm going to drop some links into the chat here. That way you can just have everything from the very beginning. I'm really excited to let you know that we're going to have a fun day that day, exploring how we can how we source your water and how we treat it, how we deliver it straight to your home. There's going to be a bunch of interactive booths, hands-on activities for kids. There's going to be free in and out. So I'm really excited for that. Also, just want to remind everybody that Western Water has a bunch of really great rebates that can help you. Right now, we're doing up to $300 for qualifying weather-based irrigation controllers. We also offer right now $3 a square foot on top of what Metropolitan is offering for the first 1,000 square feet, and $5 off high efficiency rotating sprinkler nozzles. I'm going to drop this into the chat, and then we're going to move over to Master Gardener here.
All right, Jeffrey, you want me to take over?
Yeah, give me just a second. Let me just drop this here. Hopefully this comes up well. Oh, actually, you know what? There's too much text. But while I'm doing this, I would just like to say that we have a very special guest in the audience. We have Director Rodent, who's joining us today. So thank you so much, Director Rodent, for joining us. We also have from Eastern, Jenna Shimon. Thank you so much for joining us today, Jenna. It's been a long time. So I'm going to pass it over to the Master Gardeners, Melody Knox, and she's going to introduce our speaker today.
Well, hello, everybody. You guys know me. Well, the Master Gardeners that are here know me. And you know I'm animated and goofy, so I'm going to say this. We're in the month of love, and so I love the fact that you guys all joined us today. So you're in for a wonderful treat. But before I introduce Becky, I do want to tell some of the people out there who are not Master Gardeners exactly what a Master Gardener is and what it is that we do. And we're trained volunteers, and we go out into the community. I'm with UC Riverside, and hopefully I have some other Master Gardeners here from other counties, as I had invited some. But we go and we give science-based information to the public. We educate the public on gardening and horticulture. And that's not all that we do. People think we're only dealing with plants and seeds, but we work with the community gardens, Moreno Valley Demonstration Gardens, Fairmont Park. We deal with children's school gardens. So you might have a child, a grandchild who's going to a school and they're talking about gardening. More than likely, one of our Master Gardeners is there. We also do have a whole lot of information tables. And not only are we in Riverside, but we're also in the desert area of Riverside. So you can always find us at the Riverside County Corona Temecula Vale Ranch. Those when they have the fairs out there, there's like the farmers market, street fairs, those type of things, we're usually there. And we also have different learning events. What I'm going to ask some of the Master Gardeners to do for me this time, because a lot of our calendar is not populated. So if you know there's events coming up, if you could please place them into the chat, I'd appreciate that. We do have a plant sale in April at what we have as a grow lab. So we do grow plants and we sell them to the public, and that money goes back towards our program and to assist with the children's gardens. And we have a fair coming up in Indio, but I don't have all the detailed information. So as those events come, I will make sure that I let everybody know. Also, I will be placing information into the chat, and I've talked your guys' head off enough for the first 60 seconds. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is get Becky on board. She's going to be the one teaching us about firescaping and beautifying your landscape. And she has a wealth of knowledge, very smart lady. And she's not going to introduce herself, so I'm going to introduce her. She has a bachelor's degree of science in earth and environmental sciences. She's also, like I said, a Master Gardener. She's a UC California naturalist. a CNPS member, which is California Native Plant Society member. I'm getting all this together, right, Becky? So as you can see, she has a lot of knowledge. So she's here to go ahead and share that with us. And again, I thank you all for coming on a Saturday morning. And Becky, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to you.
Oh, okay.
Hey.
I think that all of us probably have in mind the very destructive and tragic fires in LA County in January. Those two fires, Eaton and Palisades, are now #2 and #3 on the top 20 most destructive California wildfires. The first time wildfires in January have appeared on that list, and they went right to the top. So general idea is we have to adapt our home landscapes to fire, just as the 8,000 native plants in California are all fire adapted in some sense or another. But in spite of that, or maybe because of it, California is one of the most biodiverse places on Earth, and our landscapes can be fire resilient and biodiverse too. We can turn anything into a defensible space if we just follow the protocol. So I landscape mostly with natives, I love them, wildlife habitat, all that sort of thing, okay? But I like this, actually, I like this landscape that we have on the slide now. The hardscape, the rocks and the steps, it adds, interest and contour to the plants that were chosen, and it makes a wonderful defensible space that protects his home. Now, let me see. How come I'm not advancing? Oops. So what am I doing wrong, Jeffrey, here? Video.
You try pressing the space bar. Sometimes that moves it on to the next slide, or on the bottom left-hand side where you first before you turn on your video, there was those
actually it's at the top. Audio, video, participants chat, share, pause, annotate, remote control, show meeting, more. Okay, let's try more. Okay. Oh, I guess we should have practiced this. No, hide video panel, share computer sound. I don't know. You want me to reload this or?
Yeah, give it a try.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's escape from this. No, stop share. What if I stop that? Get over here. Take a look at this. See what it says at the bottom. Share, meeting, apps, more, leave. Oh, I've never had this problem before. I don't know. Maybe it's because I loaded yours instead of mine, Jeffrey, do you think? Let me see.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
Jeffrey, do you think that if we had, or if you opened it up, that you could advance her screen?
Yeah, I used
That
to.
if what, I'm sorry?
If you open up her presentation, because Becky, you sent it to Jeffrey, right?
Okay, yeah, this is slideshow.
Would you be able to advance it if she can't get it to go?
I think I have her
Okay.
presentation
Oh, we're
before
getting
doing
it
the
now,
edits.
right? Do you see this?
You gotta share your screen again, Becky.
Oh, then I gotta share my screen again. Okay, of course. Let's go back again. Now I gotta get it up here. At the top, I'm clicking it. Let's go back. Now I have to find the share again. It should be at the top.
Big green button.
I can't, when I click at the top where it was, I get, geez, this is not, does not bode well. I have to find the share again. Show.
So no, what I was saying, Jeffrey, if you can open up her presentation.
Did you change your presentation, Becky, from when you switched from when you sent it to me?
just a narrative. Okay, let me see. Show Taslar in slideshow. No, it's showing. Well. Oh, I wish I had men here. No. This is really disheartening. Now, let me go back to Zoom. I have you. Okay, now let's try this. No. No. You know, I may have to go get men. Can you guys chit chat for a second?
Yes, matter of fact, Ralph, can you hear me? Because he just entered. I know Ralph is like our computer guy. Maybe he can assist you. You think, Becky?
What? Oh, you don't, I have to go find her. I'm stuck in a little cubicle in the back 40 here.
Ralph, can you hear me? We're having some technical difficulty, and if you could possibly help us. I just saw you step in. He's probably still signing in.
Okay. Okay.
Well, Becky, if you want to see if you can find Ming, and then we'll see on this end if we can open it up, if Jeffrey can open it up.
Okay. I'm trying to remember how I used to do this.
Because I don't have your PowerPoint, and I don't think I can open it up from my end.
Okay. Okay. Terminating. Oh, wow.
All right, well, everyone in the audience, anyone have a good joke? Anything you want to talk about with your garden right now while we get this sorted out?
Let me go get men.
All right, sorry about that, everybody. We're gonna get started in just a second. And well, now that we have a little bit of time, I was saying we're gonna have our Waterworks Wonders event this April 26th at the headquarters of Western Municipal Water District. We're gonna be able to have a bunch of interactive booths where you can come and check out everything that happens behind the scenes and everything that we do to get the water safely to your residents. I think probably the thing that everybody's excited about for that is the in and out. But let's see. Oh, also,
Jeffrey,
yeah.
hi, I'm Josephine Poitevin. I'm a recent graduate, LA County, and thank you for putting this together. This is really interesting. I hope that it gets off the ground, and I will be participating in because my specific area is Long Beach, and I'll be participating in the spring Grow LA Gardens classes. And I'm really hoping that we can not only, get this going, but we can also get the slide presentation from you, because it would be really interesting if
You just want to mess with it.
the curriculum could allow all of us master gardeners to even have a 10-15 minute presentation on fire resilient landscapes, firescaping during Grow LA Gardens. I know I'm new and I shouldn't be throwing out the idea of changing the curriculum, but because this was such a catastrophic event, and even though people like, I'm in here in Long Beach, the fire thing does not touch me, but I think maybe it would be a really good idea for LA County to put firescaping in with their Grow LA Garden series.
So
Okay.
Josephine, are you a new first year trainee master gardener or first year master gardener?
That's correct.
Okay, so nothing's wrong with change. There's nothing wrong with making a change or putting in advice to do different things, because a lot of times we're not aware of stuff. So I don't see that being a problem. I'm a master gardener here in Riverside. Jeffrey, of course, he's a representative with Western Water, but that's
Right.
how we learn new things and how we do better by making a change or someone putting in a request or something to that effect. So no, don't be quiet. Keep it.
Okay. Okay. I love hearing "Don't be quiet."
Yeah, don't be quiet.
I will,
because sometimes people get stuck in their ways and they don't want to change, and things will keep going on the same way. My dad had a good saying. He says people would tell him, "Oh, I'm a manager. I've been managing for 30 years." and they might have been managing 30 years wrong. So there's nothing wrong with change.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
When
don't be quiet about it.
I will not be quiet about it. I love that saying. I will bring it up at our Zoom, because you have to do all the preparation for the Zoom meetings. I'll bring it up at the Zoom. And of course, I would love to get the PowerPoint. Yeah, and I don't see any of my fellow Long Beach Master Gardeners on the list here. Is there any Long Beach Master Gardeners here with me today? No?
Why
Crickets?
isn't that
Okay.
showing up? Oh, there it is. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, I'll leave you
have
to it.
the-
Thank you very much.
All right,
thank you,
Josephine.
Josephine.
Okay,
All
we're
right,
ready.
Becky, take it away.
Oh, thank you for your patience. Okay, I just want to reiterate that the dictates of defensible space can be applied to any landscape, whether we're making our established landscape more resilient, we want to add different plants, or if we're considering a new style. And Western Municipal's got this lovely little book that'll give you a lot of ideas. Okay, now defensible space it's interesting. Bert Wilson, thank you. Bert Wilson, who started Las Politas Native Plant Society in 1970s, was a firefighter before he started this. And he had a very simple idea 50 years ago, basic rules for fire safety: less plants, each bush should not be able to burn the bush next to it, little overhead water, metal screens, no flammable material next to the house, shade cloth, wood pile, furniture, good hygiene, and no weeds, no dead material. So this is kind of the basic thing, but it's gotten more complex as our environment, our built environment has gotten more complex too. So the first thing that we really need to do before you can decide how hardcore you have to be about defensible space is to have some idea about your fire hazard. So this is a map of Western Riverside County. The red part are controlled by municipal, these are cities with their own fire departments and they run the show, or maybe the county fire department. The pink part here is rural California. Part of it, the domain of CAL FIRE, but then there's also a lot of federal lands. We need to keep in mind that the federal government owns between 50 and 40% of all the land in California. They run their own show. They are not controlled by California and are not, what they do is what they do. And they do it well, but that's their thing, not ours. So this is a fire hazard severity zone viewer. And you have to understand with this that the state has been going through in the last 3 years of modifying this, trying to make it more exact. They've got their part down in the state area. The feds worry about themselves. It's the local responsibility area that is still being worked on. So what you're going to see in this viewer now really comes from 2007, 2000 to 2011. And in order to use this, you have to click I understand and okay. And you have to know that if you show up in a local responsibility area inside a city limit, that you've got to go to them to find out what they expect from you. Cities in California have to have at least a strenuous protocol in the very highest fire hazard area, but they can ask for more. And so you need to know that. So click, I understand, okay. And then you'll get this. So I have in a box up here, the color coding for the 3 levels of fire hazard in the state area. Very high, pink, high, orange, yellow, moderate. And then the state and the local areas, you're only going to see the very high. So this little magnifying glass, click on that, put in your address, and you'll get something that hopefully doesn't look like this. This is my house right here. It's in the pink, very highest fire hazard zone, serviced by CAL FIRE. Some of my neighbors are slightly better off. They're only in the high. This red area at the top is the city, controlled by the city of Yucaipa. Down here, it's Calamasa. But it's not always as straightforward, and that's what you have to look out for. In this screen, I looked for my son's house. He lives in Anaheim Hills. He looks fine. You see no colors, that's great. But at the bottom of the screen, when I zoomed out a little bit, I get this. This is his house right here. He's surrounded on 3 sides by the very highest fire hazard level in the within the city limits of Anaheim Hills. This little spot down here, this is the elementary school where my 7-year-old grandson goes. His home, his school. So this gives you a better view of really the things you need to know and understand about fire hazard. Now, my son's house, well, I'm gonna look back this for a second. He lives on a slope. Santa Ana winds blow here, so I figure it's got to be at least moderate, you know, or maybe high. There are 4 things that do exacerbate or make worse your fire hazard. The first one is wind. So, do you live where the Santa Ana winds blow? Okay. If you do, you need to be super prepared. You need to keep track of red flag warnings, and you need to understand evacuation, and you need to be ready to go, okay? That's the biggest thing. The next thing is if you live at the top of a slope, fires travel faster going up the slope. The radiant heat from the fire pre-warms the vegetation upslope, so it just bursts into flame, travels rapidly. So if you live on a slope, keep that in mind. Third thing is living in a cul-de-sac. The configuration of a cul-de-sac is, it's very confining. A traffic jam becomes instantaneous trying to escape from them. Firefighters and their equipment will soon fill the entire street. So don't wait. You don't have to wait till an order to leave if there's a fire nearby. And in fact, firemen in many situations have to spend a lot of time evacuating people that should be already gone. And that's time lost to their firefighting purpose. The last thing I want you to think about, and this is an old slide I took in the hills above my house. I was just walking in a ravine I hadn't been in before. I stopped down in the ravine. I looked to my left side, the north-facing slope, and I saw this nice, looks like pretty well hydrated slope there. And then I turned my head and looked left, and this is what I saw on the left side of the screen. South-facing slopes get a lot of heat and they dry out quickly. So if you live at the top of a south-facing slope, harden your home as much as you can, modify vegetation as much as you can, because that's an added danger to you. So there's 3 types of how, fires. There's embers, wind-blown embers that can bring fire to your home. Radiant heat, like maybe a bush underneath a window, that gets on fire, bursts the window, and that becomes direct flame, the direct flame that touches your house. The path to fire that is most common is wind-blown embers. Wind-blown embers, okay? So let's just think about that a second. When fires start, the wind's blowing, the embers flow downwind, they start another fire, and the embers from that fire flow downwind. So they travel, it's very insidious. They travel very rapidly. So that is your greatest danger. When we talk about the physical space landscaping, what we're really trying to protect is our home. And you have to remember that your home to a fire is just a big pile of fuel. That's all it is. And it's a lot more fuel than the native vegetation that was bulldozed when it was built. So what you need to do, you're mostly thinking about, you have to make that home as resistant to ignition as possible. And that's called home hardening. And you can see there's a lot of things that you can think about with home hardening, but there is a source at the end of this that handles this very concisely and clearly and will help you work your way through this, and you'll recognize what you have to do. Every home is unique. I do want to show you, though, a couple of things that you can do if you're just caught up in this and you haven't really done much. So remember those wind-blown embers. So this is a do-it-yourself guy that's blowing some red glitter into a vent on the side of his house. And then he takes the vent off, and you can see inside where he's put down paper that all those little pieces of glitter are in there. So basically, if you have exposed vents like this, and the wire, this looks like about 1/4-inch grid on this wire. It's too big. It needs to be smaller, but you don't have time to change wire there. So if you buy yourself a roll of 3-inch wide duct tape and just tear it off, cover that vent up, seal it up, and hopefully that'll do it. And then be sure to take it off after the danger is gone. The other thing you should do right now, I would suggest, is go up in your attic, look at the vents that come into your attic. If they have anything that is larger than, can you see this? This is not really, can you? 1/4-inch, I mean, this is 1/8-inch wire. Just, you'll have to order it online. It's not really carried by many of the big box stores, but cut a piece out, get out your, however you want to attach it to the wall, and cover those vents in the attic. It's not pretty, but it's an attic. Who cares? And it allows air movement, but creates a more effective barrier against windblown embers. So this is not, I wish I could give you all pretty pictures, but the main idea, the foundation of defensible space landscape is getting the drill down and then maintenance, maintaining your home, maintaining your landscape. And while you have to change your mind set so that you start looking at your home and your beautiful plants as in terms of ignition and fuel load. Which one of these plants or what thing in your house could an ember landing on it could ignite it? And what fuel load will keep that fire going? So this is kind of weird. It was hard for me at first, but try to think in those terms. So defensible space landscaping was 100 feet required by law. The laws change regularly. Remember always that it's your home that you're trying to protect. So that there is a new zone. Actually, I think I first heard about it maybe 3.5 years ago. Zone 0. It's the biggest thing now. It's really the most important zone because it's directly by your house, and it's called either the ember resistant zone or really zero combustibles. There should be nothing within the first 5 feet of your house or anything attached to it that can burn. This is harder than you think, and it's gotten a little more complicated too because you see the garage here. This is not attached, but the idea is changing, and they're adding the garage to that zone 0 too, even if it's not attached to your house. And if you think of the stuff that you store in your garage, you would see why you wouldn't want your garage to get on fire. Okay, so we're going to talk first about this zone 0. So I'm going to go over these, but then we're going to look at how you really apply this to your house. So again, around your home, anything attached to it, the first 5 feet, zero combustibles. That means no combustible outdoor furniture, like a wood rocker on the porch, The doormats have to be fire resistant. They can be a heavy composed, deliberately designed anti-fire rubber if, but they have to be able, metal is actually better, okay? No firewood. Clean all fallen leaves, needles regularly. And this is the hard part. No vegetation recommended in your zone. This is really counter to the traditional landscaping where you're thinking of, you know, the curb view, you're outside looking in and you see all this beautiful stuff growing against your house. That can't be there. It shouldn't be there. And you may not be able to get rid of all of it, but you've got to think of getting rid of a lot of it. Okay. No storage of combustible materials. People that leave, you know, your trash bin against the side of the house. Nothing. Okay. Use only inorganic, non-combustible mulch. That means no wood mulch in this area. It has to be pebble, stone. It can be some bare ground. You know, we have a lot of native bees that are solitary nesters and need bare soil, but it cannot be anything that burns. So hardscaping only is recommended. And then maintenance is huge. Keep it clean constantly. So let's take a look at some of these ideas. So if you look at on the right side of the screen here, this person's zone 0, what do you think about it? Okay. What I think about it is that an ember landing there could ignite that immediately. And there's such a huge fuel load right there. It'll burn, the windows will implode in and you'll have fire in your house. It really needs to be removed, especially dense stuff like this. Certainly no junipers against the house. I've seen them referred to as little green gas cans by, you know, people that write about fire. You need to look under the green surface of things and see what's inside and see not only what it's covering at the bottom, but what is actually inside that plant. So this zone 0 needs a lot of work, okay? So zone 0, nothing stored like you're doing construction and you leave stuff against the house. Your bins can't be by it. No wood piles touching the house. Actually, they recommend that wood piles be 30 feet away from your house if you have 30 feet away from your house. And no cushions. If you have outdoor furniture there, it should be metal and no cushions. Okay. Deckings are, you know, the perfect place for windblown embers to lodge and start a fire. So if you have a deck, it has to be kept immaculately clean all the time. Do not store anything under it and be sure that you keep it clean. There are people that have nice decks and they put up wire panels around the edge. So something to think about. So here is my house that built in 2002. We bought it in 2012. I knew nothing about fire hazard. It was, you know, pretty steep learning curve. And I thought that I had a pretty good zone 1 here. But this house is a very, very poor design for a fire hazard area. I doubt if they're allowed anymore. It's actually recommended that you have enclosed eaves if you live in a very high fire hazard area. Not only are these eaves not enclosed, they're extended, they're open. There's a whole bunch of wood that's very flammable. And then the veranda, the porch itself is just designed to catch embers. So it took me a while. I really thinned out zone 1 and then I started reading about, you know, zone 0. And then we started putting in a very robust zone 0 here. So it really reaches out about 8 feet from the end of the rafters. There's no near home vegetation there. The winds, I'm lucky because the Santa Ana winds do not blow where I live, but is this enough? I'm hoping so. We're still working on it. My insurance hasn't been canceled yet, but it's gone sky high, so we'll see. Now, zone zero with all that hardscape is very difficult for people that have small lots. And you're talking about a lot of area that you'd like to be landscaping. So I'm showing you a couple of, because I like natives, okay, these are natives that work well. You could put vegetation like this in zone zero. You'd have to keep it clean, but this native strawberry is beautiful. It's probably the same strawberry that nurseries sell as a, you know, um, a decorative ground cover. You know, it's probably this one. It's a wonderful little plant. It'll fill in pretty quickly. It will not take afternoon sun, and it's pretty much of a moderate water user in our area. The one on the right is a beautiful plant. Hummingbird mint, looks like this most of the year, will take freezing, takes a lot more direct sun, not constant all day, but dappled direct sun, and looks beautiful. You could use herbs here. You could use a lot of succulents, but keep in mind, succulents are very varied, very varied. That sounds funny. Succulents vary in their needs, and there are a lot of them that do not like direct sun. So know that. And just be sure that the one you're using doesn't create a lot of thatch underneath it, because neither one of these plants do. They're easy to clean. Okay. So now let's take a look at zone 1. This is where we really get to do some landscaping. And this is from the edge of zone 0, the next 25 feet. Okay. And this used to be called the lean, clean, and green, well-hydrated zone. But everything we plant does not have to be greens. And I see it being called now home protection zone. Still well hydrated, but this means well hydrated according to the water needs of your plant. It's a perfect place for water efficient landscaping of whatever level, because you won't need as much water to keep this area hydrated. So it needs to be relatively well hydrated. Again, maintenance is crucial. And then there is increased use of hardscape here, like in that first slide that had the boulders and then the stepping stones. Remove any flammable vegetation, dead or just dry, any combustible material. And they recommend a shortened plant height. And plants should have an open growth so you can see into them, so you can see if it's accumulating dead material. It should have less woody growth. That just lowers your fuel load a bit. And you have to be very careful of ground covers, something that I didn't really think of about first, but I think about it a lot now. And plants with aromatic leaves, you know, we love lavenders and sages, but many aromatic leaves have resins in them that make those leaves somewhat more flammable than others. You can use them, but you have to be very careful with these plants. And then limit the fuel continuity of trees and shrubs, sort of like Bert Wilson says, no plant that should be able to set the plant next to it on fire. We'll talk a little bit about this. We'll show some examples in a minute. And then you can use 2 to 3 inches of organic mulch, but it should not be continuous. There should be paths broken up into it. They can be hardscape paths, or they can even be bare earth. If you don't have a large yard and you get out there and you rake the mulch in patterns and leave some, you know, some bare earth paths. Of course, that's temporary. You know, the wind blows and the rains eventually do come. So it's not permanent. If it gets water, it's going to grow some weeds and you have to worry about that. But it's something to think about. So let's look at a little bit of the nitty gritty of doing this stuff. So smart plants considerations. Okay. And again, this comes from Sonoma County, and it just questions you should ask yourself when you're thinking of a new plant or a new design. really important. How large will it grow? You know, especially if it's zone one, you don't want it to be very big or grow very tall. It's something that you want to be able to prune, even if it grows maybe a little taller than it should. This is super important. Will it thrive where it's planted? Master gardeners will always tell you about sun, water, soil, and size requirements for a plant. You have to put the plant in the place where it meets its needs and where it meets yours, where it will be healthy, because healthy plants are much more resistant to fire than those plants that are struggling. And think about the maintenance now or in the future. And you can think about those plants you like with highly scented leaves. If you want to maintain them, you know, you want to limb them up, you know, it's okay, but you have to be able to accept that kind of additional maintenance. And certainly no invasive plants. We'll talk about that. And consider how plants change over their lifespan, because many do. Many start out very herbaceous and green, and then they develop woody parts. Even common wildflowers that many of native plant growers like penstemons, they are so beautiful, but they tend to get woody inside, and sometimes I just whack them back. They'll seed themselves and let a new one grow. So to clarify about mulch, so when we're talking about zone 0, stone or gravel, rocks, DG, permeable cement if you wanted to, but something that is not combustible. And then in zone 1 that we're talking about now, it should be the larger bark, not the smaller. The smaller barks, when you add it all up, have a greater surface area than fewer pieces of larger bark. And so that's a negative with defensible space landscaping. No shredded bark, no gorilla hair. Those of you that are native plant landscapers might want to argue with this, but unless you're very confident that you can do it as well as Greg Rubin and make it non-combustible, you know, but generally the recommendation is no, and no rubber. This stuff is vicious when it burns. Okay, so that's the deal on mulch. So I want you to take a look at this plant. You know, this is on the edge of zone 0 and my 1, and I have this beautiful lavender plant here. How smart is that? It's not very smart. Lavender has, you know, the leaves smell wonderful. It has resin in it. When it first grows, it's very herbaceous and green, becomes woody. This plant's too large, but this poor plant, I don't know why it's still alive. I let it grow every spring until it blooms and cut it off because it was a table decoration at my nephew's wedding. You know, not very good thinking, because if I let it go too long, this is what's inside of it. So think about the plants that you love and you want, and think about, should I have this? And if I absolutely have to have it, how do I have to maintain it to have fire safe landscaping? This, oh my gosh, was another one. Sage, back in my earlier days of, okay. This is the low growing native sage, beautiful, but I'm not showing you the beautiful part. You know, it finally occurred to me one day to take a look about what's underneath it. And there it is. This looks like you would start a campfire with. So this was a big, like 12 to 8 foot space, because I have a ½ acre and I have to cover up a lot. Okay, but now I keep it trimmed like this. It will root itself, so little plants grow, and I let them grow for a while and try to keep the area underneath them, you know, pretty clean, and just trim them back, and you know, and I still have lovely sage, and I keep it low, and it's against a brick fence. So, you know, it can work. Another one was ceanothus. I also, because I do what I do, have a section in my yard that I try to grow with only natural rainfall. And actually it worked for parts of it. It did not work for this plant. This plant obviously is a fire hazard. So it, ceanothus in the summer tend to mulch, drop leaves, and then they grow vigorously during the rainy season, but also had a lot of dead wood. So when I cleaned it out, it looks much better. This is good. You know, it's limbed up, it's cleaned out. It's in like a zone 2 area. There's more distance between this and the red bud behind it than looks, but it has to be kept this way. And I learned from this plant, I have to I have to look at them regularly, and I have to maintain them properly. And if I can't maintain it, then I can't have it. And there's some that have gone because I couldn't. Now, speaking of maintenance, a lot of people like the idea of meadows. If you have a big yard, and I have a big yard, and I let wild fleabane self-seed here for a couple of years, we had good rain. It was beautiful, beautiful, but it takes a lot of maintenance because while the fleabane is growing, so are the weeds in there. You know, I had to weed it. And finally, you know, it came at the time when, after about 2 years, where I didn't have the time for it, and there were as much weeds as there were fleabane. So now it just gets, it looks like this, the picture on the right, when I've got it the way it's supposed to be. I just weed eat it and maybe use the mower, hand weed around the stones, and it looks okay. This is the edge of zone 1 into what we're going to call zone 2, and it's very fire resistant, and it looks okay. So don't drive yourself nuts. And if you see changes in your yard that you can make work, and then just accept the gift. One thing that's very dangerous are actually palm trees. The one on the right is the most dangerous kind. It's been trimmed up. That's good. The dead fronds are removed, and palm trees will make dead fronds every year. They're really dangerous. They can catch fire easily. They detach and blow away and start fires other place. This type of palm tree where the end of the frond will not detach is particularly dangerous because embers can lodge in these anywhere. Okay, and this tree is growing next to a conifer. It looks like a redwood back here. Very bad combination. No, okay, the one on the left, this is in a small yard. This particular palm tree has a smooth bark, and it is maintained every year. The palm fronds are cut back. This is actually my son's house, and he offers the neighbors, when he's got these, you know, he'll even pay for it if they'll let these guys come and cut off their dead fronds. I want you to notice too, the hedge that was back against the gate here, it's been cut down, lowered, you know, probably needs trimmed out. Dead parts were taken out, so you see it's kind of thinner in certain pages, and it was limbed up. So this is an idea, if you have some hedging around, how you can care for it in a more fire resilient manner. Okay, so this is fuel. I want to talk a little bit about that fuel continuity. So there's two types: a vertical, where fire can climb a ladder from low growing plants that are too close to trees or other plants that grow in between them, and pretty soon you've got a crown fire because the fire has traveled from off the ground up into the top of the trees. It's a very dangerous situation. So the idea to fix this is remove low growing plants underneath the tree and limb those trees up anywhere from 6 to 15 feet, so that a ground fire will not become a crown fire. And then horizontally, they're looking at like a bird's eye view of landscaping, and this, you know, people have chose to simply remove plants so that fire cannot travel from one bush to the other. But you can create a lovely, like island of plants that's got maybe 2 or 3 or 4. You just have to separate your islands so that if an island is ignited, it doesn't ignite the other islands in your yard. So there's ways you can work around it, and it's only limited really by your imagination. Just put those fire resilient ideas in your head and add those to what you're thinking when you're planning this. So here are some pictures and 2 hydrozones. Hydrozones are when you combine the water use of plants and its level of water use together, makes irrigating it much easier. So on the right, you see sunny and dry. These are all natives. One is a volunteer here. Lovely plant, smells so good, but I love the smell of the leaves, but that means there's resin in it. So anyway, I originally planted these natives to anchor a bare slope it was actually about a 30% slope down to a hard wall. And then there's a little more slope after that. And it did the job, but then I had to remove some of them because they're too close together. So in the beginning it worked, and I probably should have started whacking on them right away when they started getting too close together, but of course I didn't. Okay. But over here on the right side, you see a lovely tree. These are more, they don't always need moderate water, but these 2 plants will stay horticulturally pleasing, shall we say. These are native plants with moderate water. So the desert willow, lovely, beautiful, beautiful plant. And this is just common yarrow. And don't give it too much water because it grows by runners, rhizomes like. So, and I contain it. So it's kind of in the same area as the tree, but I don't let it get underneath the tree. I don't let it grow that far. Okay. Okay, so some ideas there. Now, I want to show you this yard with its, less appealing side. So right now, in this large lot I have, there's a big oak tree over to the left here. But this area next to my neighbor's fence, this is where my neighbor stores their trash cans and bins, stuff like that, some gardening material. I try to keep at least an 8-foot like fire break here. And as you see, I need to get out there again and cut that down. But I don't plant anything there. I clean up the trees, leaf litter that blows, flows down here, blows down here. I leave it under the tree, but I clean it here because I think I owe that to my neighbor. I'm not quite as understanding as this fence continues into the backyard. So here is the very bottom of my yard. I'm upslope from my neighbor. We're kind of built at steps in this area. This I have let wildlife habitat, how shall I say it, outrank defensible landscaping. There are quail that nest here every year, and I provide them water. And my neighbor over here, their backyard is landscaped with a huge pool complex and cement. It's like one huge zone 0. So I think I'm safe to leave this habitat here, although I do get under these and I clean them out a bit. But anyway, it's a decision I've made, and I will rethink it some more, but I think I can get away with it. If this area bordered upon wildlands or upon just regular vegetation up to the edge of where my fence is, I wouldn't be able to do that. Okay, I just wouldn't. So plants to avoid, okay, invasive species, pampas grass, arunda. Try to get rid of that if you ever see it. Okay, high biomass things, and they're using a palm tree as an example here. We talked about that. high oil content. So besides the plants we talked about with leaves that are, oh, I gotta hurry up, don't I? It's getting late. Okay. So these are the conifers and junipers and cypresses. They're beautiful plants, but they're very problematic. You must be very careful with these in your landscape. And then, of course, flashy fuels. That means keep those weeds down. We don't have such a problem this year because we didn't get any rain. Of course, we got fires, so not a good trade-off. But these flashy things, and they can be also wildflowers. If you're someone like me that lets them go to seed and they have to dry out, you have to be careful with that. Okay. Not a big fuel load, but carries fire rapidly. Okay. So real quickly on those of you that have large areas, zone 2, reduced fuel zone, it's called. Same basic ideas, except way out there, keep the grass or weeds no higher than 4 inches. But remember, you're removing dead weeds and trees and shrubs. You're keeping those trees trimmed up. The shrubs should be opened up and trimmed off the ground. You're keeping it doesn't have to be as clean, but you're still being cognizant of, this is like, you know, this is outside of the moat, way out there where the farmers are, you know. So think of it like that. And this and also often includes adjustments to slope. And this is the problem. This is complicated. You have to space plants depending on how much slope you have. And do understand that anything greater than 30% is very hard to walk on. So you need to have professionals help you with it. Okay. So this is like looking at somebody at the top of a hill. So certainly you would need professionals to help you clean the slope. And of course, since it's living material, it needs to be attended to every year. So design and placement, defensible space. Don't clean property that doesn't belong to you. And if land is on a slope, do not clean it down to the bare ground because weeds will grow and then you'll have a bigger problem. Okay. And so there's a landscape that's not fire resilient, and you have evaluated your fire hazard. You understand the concepts of defensible space, and you produce on the right a very resilient landscaping. So this is the good news. How your plants are maintained and where they are placed is as important as the species of plants you choose. Cultural practices and landscape management, pruning, irrigation, cleanup, maintenance have a greater impact on whether or not a plant ignites than does the species. So you really have an open palette here to create a fire resilient and beautiful landscape. Remember again, got to get the right plant in the right place. That plant's got to be happy, and you have to be happy where it is. So know what it takes to keep plants thriving, healthy, vigorous. This I wanted you to look at. This is Ready, Set, Go pamphlet, and it's designed for San Bernardino and Riverside counties. And I gave you the URL at the top. This is a wonderful, concise explanation of everything. And it covers something we did not that is really crucial, and that's evaluation. Please look it up, let it help you, look at the evaluation part and get a better understanding of that home hardening stuff that might apply to you. And then if you're a real, plant person and you're really into this, this is probably the best publication. This is a UCA&R publication, 8695. You can just Google that. And it talks about everything about defensible landscaping, and it adds things that I haven't, and it just, to me, it's a pleasure to read. So there it is. here is my email. You can email me anytime with any question. You can email the Riverside County Master Gardeners. If they get fire, you know, resilient landscaping, they'll probably send the question to me, so you can just ask me if you want. So I'm done talking.
Thank you
Right.
so much, Becky. That was a lot of information. And just real quick, if anybody has to take off, you can. This workshop is being recorded, and it's going to be up on Western's website in a couple of days after the weekend, probably in, like, by Wednesday. It'll be up already. I put the URL for the website in the chat, but I'm going to paste it one more time. Okay, actually, that
And
way,
also, Becky,
there you go. So
Yes.
it'll be on that URL, but we're going to answer some questions. Becky, if you have a little bit of time, we have some questions for you.
Oh,
Melody,
sure.
would you like to
yes.
coordinate the questions? Thank you.
And I'm here going through, making sure I'm going through the questions and not the comments. But it says, what do you know about fire resistant paint for covered decks and deck surfaces? Do you know any better ones than others?
You know, that's a subject that always comes up. These paints, there are companies that are always, and now a lot, developing a lot of technological ways to help us, but you're having a good defensible space and having a clean under deck is probably more effective than the paints. You know, there's also things you can spray on yards and that sort of thing. You can use that, you know, that composite kind of lumber that is maybe a little more resistant than wood. So my answer is depend on your defensible space landscaping and your home hardening before you depend on paint. Okay.
Another quick question. This is from Daniel Weatherford. He says, can you speak to us about boxed eaves? Just wondering.
Yes. Boxed
Maybe
eaves.
one's not on Lead
Okay.
Companion.
Boxed eaves on in the place where I live, the houses that abut the wildlands have a boxed eaves now, but the interior ones, I'm only one road over, you know, the interior houses don't necessarily. So those people that have the FAIR plan insurance, you know, the California plan, if you got canceled, one of the ways that you can get off of that or get a discount from it is to box your eaves. The reason I haven't done it to my house is that I've thought about this, but it destroys that look of that house. And so box eaves are much safer, much safer. And if you can do it, do it. I'll put it that way.
Another question. This is, do I have to keep zone 0 for at least 5 feet from any overhang?
You know, I did that because I felt I had such a non-fire resilient design on my house. Yeah, mostly it just says 5 feet from the edge of your house. Okay. I just thought I had an extreme problem because I had that huge porch that catches eave, and I had those huge eaves. So that's why I extended mine. I thought I needed more. That was all, but you don't have to.
So this other person had a comment. They said, living in a smaller lot tract home neighborhood presents real challenges, and creative thinking is implementing these important suggestions. She wants to know, is there like an article or book or something that focuses on smaller lot tract homes in regards to fire escaping that you might be aware of?
Oh, wow. Okay, I do. We do know, and I wrote this in red because I wanted to say it, and then of course I forgot to say it. But, you know, there's plenty of evidence that even homes that are outside fire hazard areas, but that they are, these homes built close today are susceptible to fire. And I think that wildfires in January that hop to the top of the list tell us that. So it's best to work with your neighbors. If you can get them, you know, your close neighbors, you're both sharing that narrow space there to be cooperative. And actually, as many people as you can spread the word to and get them to think about this, the safer you'll be. There's that area though, particularly in close together homes, should be totally no combustibles, period. That would be the really, you have to be kind of hardcore with that. I personally think, although, you know, the powers that be that don't say it, I think everyone in Southern California should look really closely and at their zone 0 area. You know, these fires in LA have shown us that what can happen, and defensible landscaping helped some people. You know, there's never going to be a total answer to this, but the odds can shift in your behalf.
Another question. This is from Maria Rodriguez Marquez. She wanted to know, do you know of any budget-friendly hardscape designer in Riverside area?
Oh, no, you know, calscape.org, which is the native plant landscaping people, okay? They provide information about landscapers. And then I also know that 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, I took a class from the what was that called? Association of Professional Landscape Designers. And it was specifically aimed at landscapers getting a certificate that said that they were expert in water efficient, fire resilient landscapes. And I was the oddball in there because I'm not a landscape designer, but I wanted to know what they said. I learned a lot though. So they're out there. So, but I don't know what their services cost. You know, I don't.
There was one person who had their hand up, but I don't see them here anymore. They must have left.
Clover, I think.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Clover?
If
Yeah, I don't.
anybody thinks of a question, they can email me and I'll try to answer it. There'll probably be answers that are equally ambiguous as the answers I just gave you. But, you know, I'll do my best.
This came in from Julie Weatherford. She wanted to know, do you know what kind of company would you hire to box and ease?
Oh, I don't know specifically, but I know there's people out there. This is an up and coming professional opportunity for people to develop and work in fire, you know, home hardening. But I don't, actually, my husband has a good friend that does a lot of work at our house. He's a handyman, you know, he's good. And he's amenable to talking about fire resilience. You know, some people think it's a communist plot or something, I swear, but you know, so I can't really address that.
Well, that seems to be all the questions we have so far. Excellent comments in here, or I should say compliments for you. And the information, of course, that you have given to us makes us go back and rethink everything, especially when we're looking at our yards, we're looking at our homes. You've given us the ability now to open up and look and say, okay, now what do I need to come in here and do?
Yeah.
I'll put this back out there to anyone since she's here, and I know she has to leave quickly. Does anyone have any other questions? Anything they want to say?
Yeah, one more thing just so that we can get it on the recording. Joanne wanted to get that ready, set, go URL. If you can, could you scroll back to that, Becky?
Oh,
I
sure.
think it might have been two
You know,
slides
this
back.
looked messy how I did this. I don't know what I was thinking. This was a one-page thing. I tried to put it all on. You know, you could probably just, there's a lot of ready, set, go, but I like this one because the fire chiefs in the Inland Empire, Riverside, and San Bernardino County are speaking to us. Of course, they're saying the same thing that other fire chiefs are saying, but I thought it was nice that they really think about the area we live in, and so you can look up you could try Riverside, San Bernardino, Ready, Set, Go. If, you know,
Excellent.
instead of this crazy long,
The URL. Well, it looks like it's on the city of Riverside
okay,
County,
it could be,
US.
yeah,
So
okay, good.
that way it's on the recording, and that way Joanne can find it. But thank you so much, everybody, for joining us today. There's no more questions. Like I said, this recording will be up on the website. Join us next month, March 8th, for our next workshop that we're going to be going over, I believe, growing vegetables. But we're gonna make sure that we have the correct speaker and make sure that everything's set to go. So
Right, and
again, thank you so
so
much,
much.
and
Becky.
so
Thank you so
piggyback
much.
onto what Jeffrey just said, we're trying to make sure it's growing, we're dealing with tomatoes directly. So for those of you out there who like tomatoes, this would be the one to tune into. But like he said, we're trying to get everything confirmed. But yeah, so it's gonna be the tomato fight for next month. Jeff.
Awesome.
Again,
Well,
Becky.
thanks
Um,
so much, Melody.
Thank you so
Yes,
much.
really quick though, Jeffrey, I know a lot of people were asking about the PowerPoint, so I'm not really sure how you'd like to handle that. If they could contact you and you send it to them directly, or if you'd be okay with putting it onto the VMS. I'm not sure if you want
I
to share
think
your PowerPoint.
I think Becky, would you mind sending them the PowerPoint? If
No,
they
no.
emailed you, just if you want to email me the PowerPoint again, the finished
Okay, I
version,
will.
and then
Okay.
anybody can email me or Becky, and we'll be happy to send you the
Okay.
PowerPoint.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I'll send it to you again, but later today. I've got to finish
Oh
my
yeah,
gardener thing I'm supposed to be doing.
don't worry, we have some time.
Okay,
Thanks. All right,
okay.
well, thank you so
Thank
much.
you for
Thank
this
you, Melody.
opportunity.
All right,
Okay.
everyone take
Everybody.
care. Have a great weekend.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. Thank you, Becky. Thank you so much.
Welcome, thank you.